Today I fucked up by trying to help a dead person. This happened Friday. I'm still loopy on pain meds, so bear with me. My best friend and I wanted to go on a hike. Simple and innocent enough. I had been cancelling lately due to personal things, and she was about to go out of town for the weekend to see her long distance partner, so I wanted to spend some time together before she left. I forgot to put on socks, and was more worried about getting out the door quickly. We picked a nearby state park and drove about a half hour out of our way to get there. It's a gorgeous little pocket in our town, with a small lake and a few mild trails. Part of the way down the lakeside trail we both realized we definitely needed socks, and she had lost her phone, so we had to double back. On our way back to the parking lot is when we noticed him the first time. The car had been there since we arrived. I know because we had to walk through the cloud of exhaust on our first trip down to the trailhead. It was the fact that he hadn't moved at all yet that piqued our interest. We minded our business, assumed he was waiting to pick someone up, and got to the car. Hike round 2, time to try again. When I say we took this hike at our own pace, I'm not kidding around. We stopped for every puddle, broken bench, mushroom, weird log, and nice view we came across. What would take some people 40 to 60 minutes took us almost an hour and 40. So obviously, seeing that the car had still not moved set off a few alarm bells. We walked up to the window for the first time and saw an older man, early 60s, with a bushy mustache and glasses, asleep in the front seat. We agreed that with the cold weather and the fact that we could hear and feel the heater in his car at full blast with the windows closed, our biggest concern was carbon monoxide poisoning. We knocked a few times, then more loudly, then she shouted a bit to try and get his attention. No response. I started getting a bad feeling in my stomach, realizing that this was turning into more of a serious situation than we may have realized initially. We run over to the camp host's RV, but no one is around, so it's time for 911. She calls and gives our location, and the operator has us go through a checklist. Can we get his attention? No. Is he breathing? We can't tell. He's wearing several layers and a puffy vest. Okay, it's time to open the door and interact. I mask up and get ready, as between the two of us only I know CPR. This entire time, not a soul who has walked by has given a second glance. Nobody before or after us checked on him, nobody who saw us frantically call 911 or bang on the windows, and there were people who walked by and looked at us, even for a second stopped to see if things were alright. She shakes him one last time as a precaution and steps back, informing me the operator has asked us to get him out of the car and perform chest compressions. I cannot feel a pulse or see a breath, but the heater is on full blast, so he is warm and I can't entirely tell. One look at his hands and I knew everything I needed to know, but on the off chance I was wrong and he was still alive, I look around, make sure the parking brake's on, and turn off the ignition so I can focus on removing this larger man. Until a fuck up. Immediately the car starts rolling backwards. We are on a slight hill that leads straight to the water, and he is facing away from it. My initial thought is, oh fuck, this guy is alive and I'm going to push him into the lake and kill him. I'm frantically running sideways, pushing with all my strength and desperately trying to find the e-brake. I swear to God this car did not have one. My friend is screaming and pulling on the car. The poor operator is still on the line having to listen to all this, and then whoosh, there goes my footing. The street is basically just compacted mud and rocks, so it was only a matter of time, I suppose. I don't really know what happened to me, and can only get a good idea based off of my friend's account and my injuries pattern. I twisted my knee first, and dislocated it pretty immediately. That pop is not something I will be forgetting anytime soon. Then, as the car was obviously not gonna stop for my clumsy ass, my right hip hit the ground. I got dragged fully under the door of this little blue Chrysler for a good 15 to 20 feet of this hill, ripping through my jeans and both shirts. I then rolled onto my right side for one last bounce and got spat out underneath, ass over tea kettle. Obviously, I'm in a lot of pain, but the adrenaline is still coursing through me and I have to know if he is going into the lake or not. Well, I am not a religious person by any means, but goddamn Jesus took that wheel. The car made a sharp left and backed up into some trees. The guy in the car barely jiggled with impact. My friend, still on the phone with 911, runs up to me to check on me, but I shoo her off to look at the man. I'm totally okay, I wasn't. She took one look at my back and mumbled, "Fuck fuck, my boyfriend is going to kill me. And ran off. I didn't even know anything was wrong with my back. Try to stand up, and feel my knee pop a second louder time. I could absolutely feel two things moving against each other inside, and immediately fell to the ground. This very kind man with the most luxurious Shaun White-esque hair came and helped pick me up and get me out of the road so the ambulance that had just arrived could go by. These paramedics were amazing. In the blink of an eye they got this man out, on his back, stripped his shirt off and began CPR. In another blink they had all their gear set up around them. My friend signed over her phone number and ran back up to me. We got in the car with a bit of a struggle, and Googled the nearest urgent care. After a half-hour drive, they took one look at me and sent me to the ER. My boyfriend took over from there and got me to the hospital. Dislocated and relocated my knee, cracked a few ribs, severe road rash on the majority of my upper back and on my right hip, severe bruising on my left hip. They gave me 10 milligrams of oxycodone in the ER for my debridement and overall pain, and I was still in so much pain I was nauseated and dizzy. On checkout they gave me a script for 15 milligrams of morphine. Still, on morphine, I am about a 6 on the pain scale. I have a few pictures from the day of my injuries if anyone is curious. Eventually, as I'm getting the rock splinters pulled out of my ass and back, my friend texts me with news. They identified the man, pronounced him dead and found his next of kin. Sheriff was so kind, and thanked us profusely for what we had done and said he wished more people like us existed. He also cleared us of any responsibility for the fate of his car. Lol. I've been checking the local obituaries every day since Friday to see if he comes up. I would love to know more about who he was and maybe even contact the family and let them know he was peaceful and looked happy and was not in pain or anything when we got there. Then I remember what happened to the car, usually turn a shade of crimson, and forget about the idea of reaching out to anyone. Too long didn't read, I just wanted to go out for once, tried to go on a hike, got hit by a dead guy in a car instead, ended up reliving a shitty version of Stand By Me. Now my boyfriend has to miss a few days of work to care for me because I cannot even sit up or pee by myself. ETA, I am so blown away. Thoroughly expected to get roasted till golden brown and delicious for being stupid and turning off the car because of XYZ technical reason, or to have you all laugh with / at me for busting my ass so badly for a guy who wasn't even able to be saved, and instead I am being flooded with such love and support. I appreciate every single piece of advice and anecdote and am trying to respond to all of you. Exclamation mark. Here are the photos my boyfriend in case they get buried, slight NSFW/L because of my butt being there and me not wanting to get in trouble. Lamau. No good deed goes unpunished. Thanks for being who you are. Hope you feel 100% soon. Thank you so much. I'm more fucked up over the fact that not a single other person stopped all day to check on him. He was there before we even arrived. Frown. Wow, you can't make up a story like this. No one would believe it. Hope you recover soon. Thank you, I really appreciate that. When I was being admitted to the hospital, the nurses argued and debated and even said let's go back to the front desk and figure this out as to whether or not they should file it as an auto accident or not. Well, for one, I hope you're doing okay, all things considering. And for two, oh my fucking, that's honestly like my worst nightmare. Dead man tries to kill me. You could make a creepypasta out of this story if you twisted it a little bit. And even better, people would be scared more. BC, it's a true story. Haha. Once I got home, all I could think was I touched a dead guy today. Crawled over his dead body today. His hands were so soft. I am coping with jokes the best I can. Lol. I'm really glad you didn't get more hurt. That whole situation sucks. I am absolutely counting my lucky stars that a wheel didn't go over me or that I didn't hit my head or hurt my spine at all. I'm very grateful to the universe for letting me out of that one. Today I fucked up by forgetting a shift and going to work on mushrooms. I used to be a security guard for one of the largest security companies out there. At the time I was working a public library contract at the main downtown branch. Every now and again there would be special events at the smaller libraries around town that require guard services. One week my boss asks me if I would be interested to work one of the weekend shifts coming up at one of the branches hosting an art gallery. It paid well, and I really just had to stand there. Fuck a day off, Daddy needs them dollars. Well, I neglected to write any reminders down on the tiny computer I carry around daily and made some plans of my own for the weekend in question. That Friday I had picked up about 7 grams of mushrooms off my grandpa who grew his own, but instead of just eating them like I normally would have done, I wanted to make them into a tea just to see how the effects differ from ingesting the raw mushroom. Early Saturday morning rolled around, and I unwillingly slinked out of my bed. Mushrooms are pretty much an all-day type of thing, so I like to get the party started before noon. Sit down to engage my daily biological waste expulsion protocols while skimming the mushroom tea instructions briefly. 1. Grind mushrooms. 2. Boil in water. 3. Add tea bag and sugar/honey for sweetness. 4. Strain out mushroom refuse. 5. Go to space. Simple enough. I use a coffee grinder to grind up 4 grams of the mush into the finest powder possible and dumped it in a small stainless steel pot with the exact amount of water needed for 1 cup of tea. Next I plopped in 2 bags of Tetley's Earl Grey vanilla to take me all the way to Flavor Town because magic mushrooms aren't known for their over-the-top delicious potential. Known more for its earthy, kind of like literal shit taste except only drier. PSA, use pizza or peanut butter same for ingesting large quantities of dry mush, makes the experience less. Vomit on his sweater already. Apples help me to curb that initial nausea. I prep my cup with some cheesecloth and slowly pour the mushroom concoction through the cloth to collect the organic matter floating in the water. It literally smells like my vanilla tea. Added some honey and began to drink it. Holy fucking shit, tastes just like my tea. There is almost no discernible taste difference. At this point it was about 10 AM. The nice thing about regular mushrooms tasting like shit is the taste lingers, especially when you burp. So it is not easy to forget what choices you have just made. The tea was just tea. Until it most totally was not. When you eat mushrooms, they can take upwards on an hour to begin to kick in. Gives you time to situate yourself in a comfortable area, with comfy clothes and get set up with an activity you can enjoy. This was my first time fucking with the tea, so other than other trip reports I have read I did not know what to anticipate, so I anticipated nothing and just embraced the trip as it unfolded. This is the way to avoid a bad trip. Lean into it, never fight against it. Literally 20 minutes later my Visson goes webby, door frames and windows are no longer symmetrical, and colors are just wow. The come up that usually takes 1 to 2 hours to climb crescendoed for me at an unheard of rate of speed. It was as though I was completely normal one moment, then a couple of deep breaths and deliberate blinks later the world around me took a new shape. It happened so fast I was shocked, and the shock threw me into a laughing fit which woke up my then roommate, Rod the body. Rod comes out and sees my writhing on the floor, crying laughing. He looks at the time on his phone and shakes his head. Apparently, I found this to be the funniest shit I have ever seen. Non-stop laughter until I laughed so hard I almost shit myself. Bathroom time. Hallucinogenics tend to make biological process very unpleasant experiences, as you are very aware of sensations you would normally want to numb for the sake of sanity. So I was not stoked about what I had to do. I'll spare you fine folks the shitty details, but the mushroom tea turned my stomach upside down and I pissed out of my ass for like 10 minutes. That was a completely new mushroom experience for me, not one I ever want to relive. Yikes. Finishing the porcelain crucible, I returned to my comfy spot on the couch a changed man. I half-heartedly watched some TV, probably Family Guy as it is quality background noise, just following my fluid mind down the river of hallucinations. My phone rings, it's my boss lady. Boss lady, hey Milk, are you about ready to be picked up for that gallery at 5? I look at my phone, it's fucking 4? My perception of time was so skewed, it felt as though I had just left the washroom moments ago. Maybe I did. Shit me, yes. Ready. Boss lady, you forgot about the shift tonight, didn't you? Me, I 100% did. Boss lady, well, we really do need your help tonight if you can still make it. Feeling bad about my terribly timed decisions while also feeling gratitude for the entire universe, I agreed to still work the shift and have her pick me up. I hang up the phone and immediately go to the bathroom to see how big my pupils are. Fucking massive, excellent. One of the only upsides to mushroom tea is that the effects do not seem to last as long as ingesting the actual mushroom itself. 4 to 5 hours versus 8 to 10 hours depending on potency and quantity. So I was on the way down but still up. Still way up. It's worth mentioning at this point that a week prior I was in a physical altercation that left me with one black eye. 5 PM rolls around and boss lady texts me that she is here. I find my darkest, most reflective sunglasses, pray to the mushroom gods for guidance and venture out into the world for the first time that day. She knows about my black eye and almost immediately as I sit in her car she asks to see it. Fuck. Internally panicking, while externally pretending to be a cucumber I remove the glasses and she inspects my eyebrows. Boss lady, geez, they got you a good one, eh? And that was it, that's all she said. Shades back on, headed to work. We arrive at the library to find a long line of geriatrics waiting to gain entry. This was an old-aged art show showcasing local elderly artists' work. I walk in and look around. Ooh, snacks. They have some wafer cookies and a pot of coffee on a central table in the middle of the room while the perimeter of the room is housing all of the paintings. It is a small room and the only reason security is there at all is to ensure no one comes in to use the library as the regular library area is closed for the show. But that all looks so what they expected of us. Him milling around eating cookies, drinking subpar coffee with probably way too much sugar in it, just observing the art. Surprisingly not feeling anxious at all. The art was very soothing for some reason. None of them were over the top good in terms of fine art. I mean way better than anything I could create, but not like magical masterpieces. Lots of farm landscapes which I thought was strange. You can paint anything in your imagination and you paint a red barn and a field full of rolled up hay bales. But the more I looked and the more I questioned, the more I understood the why. This art was not for me, it wasn't for anyone other than the individual who created it from their unique ethos. This wasn't just a piece of art, it is a piece of their humanity, who they are as an individual among a sea of individuals. I grabbed a few more cookies. When I went to the cookie table I was greeted by a nice older woman whose actual name escapes me, but I wouldn't tell you degenerates anyway. I saw you looking at the art, what do you think? Unable to capture and articulately express the sensations I felt experiencing the art firsthand, I replied with a meek, yeah. It's good. That one you were looking at in the corner is mine. I felt a sense of her wanting to connect with someone regarding her art. She exuded confidence, but somehow I still sensed a bit of exhausted loneliness in her. Really? It is pretty cool. What inspired you to create that piece? She goes on to tell me how that was the farm her husband had grown up on, the farm where they had met. She said that ever since he died 5 years ago she felt lost, disconnected. She said she recently started having dreams of her late husband and the farm where they met, and it would make her depressed. Then I don't know what happened, she said, I just woke up one day and knew I had to paint the farm, so I did. Cannot explain it, but as soon as I was finished with the painting I felt lighter, like my husband was still with me. Somewhere. I could tell she was getting a little anxious divulging potentially sensitive personal information to a complete stranger. It is a very boat a day I fucked up a work of art and I'm sure your husband would be impressed by what you have created. She smiled and we parted ways. Damn. Here I was, initially harshly judging this seemingly bleak piece of artwork that was actually a piece of someone's soul. I learned a lot about myself that day, about snap judgments and multiple perspectives. I hope that lady is happy doing whatever she's doing. We finish the day and get into the boss's car. She looks at me. Car still in park. Boss lady, how high were you today? Me. Silence / Boss lady, I'm not a fucking idiot. Me. I just smoked a bit of weed, I forgot about the shift. My apologies. She looked pretty pissed but was glad no one else noticed my suspected inebriation. I got written up but she was a nice boss so it never made it to head office. Thankfully. Edit. Thank you everyone who took the time to read this behemoth of a today I fucked up. Appreciate all of your words. I recently lost my good cushy job and am back on that security grind. In fact, that's where I wrote this. Maybe I'll take your words and use them as motivation to write something. Thanks again. Edit 2, I get it, I fucked up twice that day. I should have used lemon juice. Lol 3. Too long didn't read, drank mushroom tea then was reminded about a shift I picked up, attended shift, had perspective altering experience, was almost fired but just got written up. Totally worth it. Today I fucked up by trying to negotiate my raise with work. So after seeing a post on Reddit about how it should be okay to talk about your pay with your employer, I got the courage to do just that. It was my 90-day review last week, and that means I get a jump in my pay. I always go over the top with most my jobs and do a lot of extra stuff because I don't like to stand around too much. Makes the day go by slow. I come in early to set up for the day, which isn't my job, and I stay after to clean up, which isn't my job. Now some of you might think I'm doing someone else's job, but they didn't have anyone hired for setting up and cleaning up. So when I started working there, it was an absolute mess. I've got many comments from other employees and even the boss on how good the place looks. I get called into the office for my 90-day review and am told I'll get a standard $1 raise. It didn't sit right with me because I've literally made a positive impact on that place to the point everyone noticed. My work ethic and motivation to improve the work environment there has been proven. I voiced my opinion on the matter by asking if the raise was negotiable. My supervisor looks at me with surprise and with a pause begins to laugh, which insults me more because I'm serious and wasn't laughing. I plead my cause with everything I've done and that I'd like a $2 raise. After seeing I was serious, he lost the laughter and got a little more serious and said the pay raise is not negotiable. I then asked if he got to negotiate his pay when he started, which hit a nerve because I was told to get out of his office. My hours have been cut since then and I'm going to have to start looking for a new job. Oh well. Too long didn't read. Decided to negotiate my pay raise with supervisor, leading to my hours being cut and losing job.